السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، إن شاء الله we continue today, inshallah ta'ala. Today is Thursday, the 19th of Dhul Qa'dah, 1441, matches the 9th of July 2020. And inshallah, we continue what we started, the things that nullify a Muslim's Islam. And last time we mentioned the one who hates anything that is of Islam, certainly established that it is Islamic. The one who ridicules anything that is from Islam, mocks at it or makes fun of it. Another item or another thing that is listed under the things that nullify, that invalidates a Muslim Islam is من ظهر المشركين وعاونهم على المسلمين وأحبهم بقلبه. The one who supports the polytheists and helps them against the Muslims, and he loves them with his heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 51, وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. The one who is allied with them, then he is from them. Yani the one who allies himself with them, becomes in alliance together, that is with the mushrikeen, the polytheists, then he is from them. He is from them. So this is the case. You have non-Muslims who want to attack Muslims, and you have this person claiming Islam. He comes to their support and he helps them and assists them against the Muslims. Here they add وأحبهم بقلبه, يعني he loves them with his heart. That's what they added here in the text, and usually this is what it is. Sometimes it's for material gain, or to gain leadership or a position or a post, but this is a reality. Muslims are in a situation where they are attacked by their enemies, and this person claims to be a Muslim. He stands in support. So, for instance, those enemies, they are killing those Muslims. This supposedly who claims Islam, he gives arms and weapons to the non-Muslims so that they will kill the Muslims. He will help them to stop food and drinks and necessities of life. He helps those enemies to stop those life necessities from reaching the Muslims. So he will work as a soldier. He will work as security at the border so that anyone who brings any of those amenities of life necessity, water, food, make sure they never pass to the Muslims, helping their enemies against them. How can this person claim to be a Muslim? Hmm? Once again, there are details to this, and I'm not telling the people to jump and label others as non Muslims, right? But we have to agree on the basic idea here. Someone who supports, helps, and assists the enemies to hurt, to wipe out, to kill, to destroy Muslims or the Muslim government, or Muslim people. Right? This cannot be someone who is a Muslim. That's a reality. The fact that he loves them or not, usually, يعني, those people they love these enemies because they love their interests, and their interests are with those enemies. So therefore, they stand with them. They stand with them. So this is the case. Sometimes it's not a material يعني, physical support. It could be by media and by information, right? Like those who, for instance, claiming to be Muslims, they attack Muslim organizations, the masajid of the Muslimin, for instance, in the West. They tell the Westerners that, look, these Muslims there, this is the one who's talking is supposedly Muslim. Now, if it is a non Muslim, still, lying and fabricating lies is not acceptable. Not acceptable Islamically, not acceptable even on the human level. Even humans, by nature, they know that the liar is bad, and lying is bad, and the liar is an evil person by nature. By nature, you don't need you don't need even a legislation or a revelation to tell you that lying is bad. See, if someone wants to drink, he asks, where can I find water? So someone lies and tells him, there is no water here. You need to go 3 miles, walk 3 miles to get water. Where there is no water there, he's just lying. Right? Everyone with a human nature, a good and innate nature, he will know that this is evil. But then to have a Muslim accusing the other Muslims in the West who have masajid, who have organizations, accusing them of all kinds of lies, telling the those governments that you have those people who want bad for you, those who are going to cause trouble for you, instigating those non-Muslims against the Muslims. So mudaharatu al-mushrikin, supporting the polytheists and assisting them against the Muslims. You think you can be a Muslim and do that? Is this what Islam teaches? If there are Muslims who are committing wrongs and doing evil, and conspiring to cause mischief in the land. They want to kill someone wrongfully, or even maybe they are deviant. There are deviant Muslims who want to cause damage in the name of Islam. Yes, those we warn against them, those we stop them from the evil that they are doing. But for someone to come and generalize like that and even attack specific organizations, mentioning them by name, and those organizations are not known for these things, are not known for evil or violence or anything like that. It's just they are against your agendas, they are against your oppression, against the model of Islam that you are calling to. That's the reality. That's the reality. So you generalize and attack the Muslims and put them in harm's way by lying like that, and you think you could still continue. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So this is the case. يعني, these are heinous crimes, and they may amount to disbelief. والعياذ بالله. Another point is من اعتقد أن أحدا من الناس يجوز له الخروج عن شريعة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم واختيار غيره. The one who believes that anyone from the people may, or it's allowed for him to exit, to leave the legislation that Rasulullah SAW legislated, and to choose otherwise, or to believe that the religious duties are dropped from so and so. سقط عنه التكليف وجاز له فعل المحرمات وترك الواجبات. It's allowable for so and so to do what is haram and to leave what is obligatory. So here, and they give example for the Sharia. You know that the story of Musa alayhi and Al Khadr. When they boarded the ship, Al Khadr alayhi he put a hole in the ship, and Musa was saying, "How dare you wreck the ship of those poor people, masakin? How can you do that?" Of course, this is haram in the Sharia of Musa alayhi. It is haram to cause harm. But the reality is that he did that to save the ship. And Musa alayhi did not know this. It was explained to him later on. Likewise, when he killed the child, Al Khadr is a prophet alayhi according to the stronger position. So he did that. Now he didn't know, Musa alayhi. He knows killing is haram, so it's haram. But Al Khadr did that with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to teach us, the moral behind that story. So there are some people who claim that there are amongst us, those usually sometimes deviant people, Sufi orders, and who are very far into deviance. Even some other Sufis might pinpoint and might point out to them and say those are deviant. They don't belong to. Even some Sufis, they don't accept this. It's too far in deviance. So they say that their sheikh, he is allowed not to follow the legislation of Rasulullah SAW. He's allowed not to follow it. Like Al Khadr did not have to follow the Sharia of Musa alayhi. This is how they present it. Okay? And they say it's allowed. And that's why he goes on to say here that the religious duties are dropped from him. He doesn't have to abide by doing what is obligatory and leaving what is haram. So this person, they say, their sheikh or their saint, He can marry whoever he wants. He doesn't have to pray the five daily prayers. He doesn't have to pray. Right? And so on and so forth. And they go with these things. They go very so much deviant. I don't want to mention examples. For some examples are really and they mention them without shame. They mention them as karamat. Look at how our sheikh was honored, right? How he was honored by committing something that is far worse than adultery, for instance. They say this is an honor from Allah. He doesn't have to abide by the laws that are in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So anyone who thinks that it's okay for him to violate, to go against the law, the Sharia of the Prophet ﷺ, he can choose whatever he wants to do. He doesn't have to do religious obligations, and he doesn't have to stay away from things that are prohibited. He's okay. And they have, different. So, like he will be drinking khamr, whiskey, or intoxicant drink, and they will say, no, no, you just see it to be this intoxicant, but it isn't. In fact, when he drinks it, it turns into something, I don't know, juice or whatever, right? So that's how they talk. That's how they talk. Salat al-Dhuhr comes, he doesn't pray. Salat al-Asr comes in, he doesn't pray. Salat al-Maghrib comes in, he doesn't pray. Salat al-Isha comes in, he doesn't pray. What kind of sheikh is that? What kind of a saint is that? Right? They say, oh, you don't know. You just don't know. Just don't do. يعني, they say, don't do like them, but believe in them. Right? That's how the deviants have gotten so far, right? So they say, no, no, you see him not praying, but you just see him here not praying, but he is somewhere else. He's actually praying in the Kaaba there. He prayed the five daily prayers there, right? So those claims that are like this, they say Sheikh so and so, he reached the level where he doesn't have to pray anymore. He doesn't have to fast anymore, right? Anyone who claims anything like this, then he has exited from al-Islam. Point number 9: من أعرض عن دين الله لا يتعلمه ولا يعمل به ولا يتقيد بأوامره ونواهيه. Once again, the one who completely turns away from the religion of Allah, he doesn't learn it, he doesn't act upon it, he doesn't abide by its commands and prohibitions. ولا يفرح بانتصار الإسلام والمسلمين. He doesn't become happy if Islam and Muslims become victorious. ولا يحزن لهزيمة المسلمين. He doesn't become sad if Muslims got defeated. Right? So they are in complete abandonment. They just turned away. They turned their backs to Al-Islam. He mentions an ayah from Surah Al-Ahqaf, ayah number 3, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا عَمَّا أُنذِرُوا مُعْرِضُونَ. That the disbelievers, they turn away from that which they are warned about. So this is the case. We are talking about someone who's in total abandonment, right? Yani he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he didn't pray. He doesn't care if he doesn't fast. He doesn't care if he didn't pay zakat. He doesn't care if his children pray or don't pray. He doesn't care if they don't abide by Islam. He doesn't care if they. He doesn't care. Right? He doesn't learn Islam, and he doesn't act upon al-Islam. He doesn't apply it. He doesn't learn it. He doesn't know anything, and he doesn't apply it. The total abandonment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the disbelievers with that. They are the ones who completely turn away from Islam. So to be a Muslim is not just that you have a Muslim name and then you don't know anything about Islam. Maybe even some non-Muslims, they know more about Islam than this person, and he might laugh. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if he knows or if he doesn't know. It doesn't matter to him. Number 10: من استحل شيئا مما حرم الله أو أنكر معلوما من الدين بالضرورة. The one who makes allowable, who believes that any something that Allah made prohibited, he believes it to be allowable, halal, or someone who denies a matter that is well known from the religion by necessity. Like, for instance, كمن استحل السحر أو شرب الخمر أو الزنا أو نكاح المحارم. Like the one who believes it is allowable to practice sorcery, black magic, or it is allowed to drink khamr, intoxicant, or that it is allowed to commit adultery, or that it is allowed to marry the women that Allah made prohibited for the person to marry, or he denies the obligation of salah, the obligation of zakah, fasting of Ramadan, and Hajj pilgrimage, and the likes of that. Those who deny such things or view things that are well known from the religion by necessity from the religion, that it is haram, and then he says it's allowed. It is wajib, and he says no, it's not wajib. Many examples, and I mentioned to you that some of those speakers that show up on stations, يعني would say, oh, you do not have to fast. You can either fast, يعني if you are able to fast, he's saying, you can either choose to fast or choose not to fast and feed one needy person for every day that you miss. Where did he get this from? It is from the earlier legislation in the legislation of Siyam. It was in the beginning like that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abrogated and cancelled this ruling, and it became that fasting the month of Ramadan is an obligation for everybody. So this person comes and he opposes, yani even the non-Muslims know that able Muslims they have to fast. This person comes now in this time and he says you don't have to. You can either fast or just, okay, you don't want to fast, just feed a needy person. You don't have to fast. Or he says, you know how this يعني people living together, a man and a woman living together, they call it musakana, يعني just cohabiting, living together in a house without a marriage contract. They just choose to live together. So he says it's okay. That's considered to be marriage in his eyes. It's not zina. It's not adultery. And I told you that in some countries they call that white marriage. They call it. So this one who says this is allowed, he is outside of the fold of al-Islam, and that's a reality. Why Allah made something prohibited, and He says no, it's allowed. Allah made something obligatory, wajib, and He says no, it's not compulsory, even if he is practicing it. So someone is praying and he says, actually, you don't have to pray. I just do it because, got used to it all my life. So I'm doing it. But you don't have to pray. Muslims don't have to pray 5 times a day. This one has left Islam, even if he prays. The people who also claim that fasting is not an obligation, even if they fast, even if they fast. And many times those people usually don't pray, don't fast. They just want to live their lives. They just don't want to be labeled culture, yani from the cultural aspect, from the social aspect. They don't want to be viewed as an apostate, or they don't want to be viewed as a renegade, right? They don't want to be viewed like that, socially only, socially and culturally. So they don't want to, they just want to say those things, live with the people, and then when they die they expect, like a Muslim funeral. They don't really care about it. They're hypocrites, but then they just want to be like everybody else. Or maybe they don't want to embarrass their parents, they don't want to embarrass their children, they don't want to embarrass their neighbors and close friends maybe. So they just want to be, they go with the flow. They want to be with everybody else. They don't want to be singled out as, non-Muslim, someone who left Islam. They don't want to be viewed or seen like that, but they want to say whatever they want to say. And the reality is, that is not the case. You either accept Islam as it is, or choose another religion to follow. These are, actually, he mentioned 10 of them, right? Although in between he basically added more, but these are 10 points causing the Muslims Islam to be invalidated. Now, we mentioned that, and I keep repeating that, us studying this not to for us to say fulan so and so, he is not Muslim anymore. This is called takfirul muayyan, to speak about someone specifically, to single out a person in specific and say this person is a non-Muslim. This has to be issued by a scholar, someone who's knowledgeable, and even sometimes it has to be done at the court, the Muslim court. But it is for us to know these things so that we know who's right and who's wrong, and especially in areas where you don't have Islamic court, you don't have judges, you don't have someone comes to you, for instance, proposing he wants to marry your daughter. And he says, you know what, we don't have to pray. Now you know you're not going to give him your daughter in marriage. And someone like this, you learn in order for you to be careful about yourself and to teach those who are around you, and so that you will know. You don't want to issue a specific or a personal judgment about someone up until you bring it up to a scholar, and the scholars will help you with that. The reason being that you don't want to overstep your limit and judge someone to be outside of Islam because of your ignorance, right? So, in order to judge a specific individual, Fulan al Fulani, so and so, is not Muslim, there are conditions that have to be met. Conditions that have to be met. And there are things that stop us, prevent us from issuing that judgment. Those things have to be not there at all. So, from the conditions, that this person will be someone who knows the prohibition of this thing. So if he is someone who just accepted Islam, newly accepted Islam, so he might know the five pillars, the six pillars of Iman. He knows Islam a good religion, but he doesn't know the detail that so and so you cannot marry her, right? And he believes he can marry her. He maybe was breastfed by someone, him and his wife, long time ago, right? So he's not supposed. He might not know this detail. So he says, no. What you do, you teach him that this is the reality in Islam. This is what it is in Islam, right? So if someone is ignorant, that's one reason why you don't issue the label of disbelief upon him. Another condition is that he be someone who deliberately did that, not did this by mistake, right? He did it deliberately, on purpose. He did that action, right? Or that thing or that statement that will take him outside of Islam. He didn't do it by mistake, he did it on purpose, he did it deliberately, he did it with intention. So if it was done by mistake, also he should be someone, another condition, mukhtar. He did that by choice, not he was forced to do it, right? So if someone was forced to doing something, then he has an excuse. But if he said it out of his own free will, that's where. And so the condition is that he would do it out of his own free will, not being coerced, not being forced. So someone puts a gun to his head and he says, say something bad about Islam, and he does. Now, this person does not become a non Muslim. Why? Because he was forced to say that. Otherwise, he will be killed. So, these conditions, knowledge, that he has knowledge that this is something haram. If he doesn't, rather teach him rather than issue a label of kufr on him, disbelief. Also, he has to have done it on purpose, deliberately, not by mistake. Also, he has done it by his own free will. He was not forced, he was not pressured or coerced to do it. So, these are conditions that will stop you from issuing the label of disbelief. On the other hand, there are things preventing you. And if you look deeply, you find they are the opposite of the conditions. So there are things that will stop you from issuing the label, mawani'. From this is ignorance. Ignorance. Because he is ignorant that this statement or this action is disbelief, he is ignorant of that. So this stops us from issuing the label of disbelief on him. Another is that he would be someone who explained it away in a way that is acceptable. تأويلا سائغا, right? So he has some excuse, right? Because he explains something in a way that is acceptable to be explained as such, right? So those they may say something that is disbelief or act on something that is disbelief, but they never meant to oppose Islam. They never meant to oppose Islam, meaning they are not. This not deliberate. It's not on purpose. They have some sort of an explanation that made them fall into that statement or that action, which initially it takes someone from Islam outside from of Islam, but then they had that sort of interpretation or explanation, right? And therefore they shouldn't be labeled as someone who is a non-Muslim. Also, the issue of ikrah. Yani the beginning we mentioned conditions that have to be met in order to issue the label. Now we are mentioning the things that will bar us, that will stop us from issuing the label, which they are the opposite of these conditions. One of them is the person is forced and coerced to do something, an act or a statement of kufr. He is forced, right? He is compelled to do it by force. So this person is excused because he has an excuse. Another thing that will prevent us from issuing the label is that he did not intend to do or say the what is kufr, what is disbelief. The good example that is always mentioned in this regard is the story of the man who lost his camel, his riding animal, with his food and drink and everything in the desert. And he kept looking, he couldn't find it. He said, I'll just go lie under this tree and wait for death to come to me. So he went to sleep. Then he woke up, he found his camel right there. And he got up and he was so happy. He made a slip of a tongue. He flipped the words. Instead of saying, "Oh Allah, you are my Lord and I am your slave," he, out of him being so happy, he made a slip of a tongue. He said, "Oh Allah, you are my slave and I am your Lord." He flipped the words out of his complete happiness. So, this word that he came out of him, it's a word of disbelief, no doubt. But then he never meant that, and it was just a slip of a tongue. So, someone who slips like that is not going to be labeled as a disbeliever. This is why, if you find someone who fell into any of these things that are judged to be mukaffirat, things that will take one outside of Islam, no one should just rush quickly issue the label of disbelief. He should not do that. You should bring the matter to the people of authority. So if you are in a Muslim land, you inform the court, you inform the judge, and the judge is the one that will issue the judgment wherever, maybe now you tell the police and the police will go to him and charge him and then take him to court or whatever the procedure that is taken. The point is that judging someone to be a non-Muslim is one of the serious and dangerous crimes that are prohibited in Islam. And it's not up to the general folks and laymen to get involved in issuing labels of disbelief. Even lesser than that, labels of bid'ah. Fulan is a mubtadi', right? It's not for the general folks to issue those judgments, because it is for the scholars who have the knowledge and understanding, and they can distinguish between different things, right? So that is the case, and Allah knows best. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Tomorrow, Friday, there will be no lecture, inshallah. I will meet with you on Saturday, inshallah. Tomorrow, Friday, there won't be any lecture, inshallah. But bidnillah, on Saturday, inshallah ta'ala, we'll see you again, bidnillah, with Hadi al-Arwah ila Bilad al-Afrah with Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, inshallah. So that usual lecture, bidnillah, will happen on Saturday around 8 o'clock, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. The masjid is open for Fridays. For the Jumu'ah, you need to, inshallah, register yourself to go online, qssc.org, on our website, and register yourself in order for you to attend the Jumu'ah, inshallah ta'ala. It is not a must to attend these days because the virus is still around. The same reason why, if you remember, in the very beginning when this disease came, we remained open for some time, and then many places in the Islamic world also, they completely shut down. The same reasons that brought the shutdown in the very beginning, and the scholars were saying that you are excused, you don't have to attend, the same reasons are still in effect today. And that's why the ruling is the same. You do not have to attend for the fear of this sickness or disease that is spreading around. However, those of us who want to come, Alhamdulillah, you can go to the masjid. However, you have to observe all of the rules and the regulations that are required, either required by the government, like the face mask now is required everywhere where it is you are in an enclosed place. Even the shopping centers and the malls or grocery stores, you have to wear a mask now. Everybody has to do that. So abide by those rulings or those instructions that are mandatory, and also observe the other rules that are just recommended for us to do in order to protect ourselves and protect others from the spread of this disease. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We'll see you on Saturday inshallah. There is no lecture tomorrow بإذن الله تعالى.